Hello and welcome back, people. I'm your host, Reese, and you are listening to The Introverted Nerd Watches, where I am just a nerdy black girl picking apart and overanalyzing all of the best and worst TV. And we are doing another episode of Saved by the Bell because I am continuing with this rewatch. It gets shaky every once in a while, and this is one of the shaky episodes. But we'll make it through. This week I watched season 3, episode 12 of Saved by the Bell, Close Encounters of the Nerd Kind. So before I get into the episode, I got some 5-star reviews on iTunes. So I'm going to read those because that's what I said I was going to do. Remember, every week I say that. So the first one is by Katie Olas. I love you, Katie Olas. I like that name, Olas. It says 5 stars, super funny. I really enjoy this show and look forward to new episodes. Thank you, Miss Olas. And the other is from Helix 2301. Great show. I like the way the show is done, and I'm always a listener of well done comic shows, and this show is great. Thank you. And apparently I got confused. Not apparently, I did get confused reading this. So thank you to the 2 new reviews. And if you want to leave a review to be read on the show, go to iTunes. It has to be 5 stars because, like I said last week, I am a 5-star chick and I will accept nothing less. And I'll read whatever you write. You can write something terrible and I would probably read it. Well, I don't know if iTunes would let you leave anything like truly terrible. So, I don't know, but just leave 5 stars. I'll read it here. And that's it. So subscribe, leave a 5-star review. I'll read it. And we'll be best friends, and I will love you forever and ever and ever. So let's move on to this episode. Close Encounters of the Nerd Kind. It is episode 12. There are only, I believe, 6 more episodes left in this season 3. And if you listen to the last episode, you know that I was like a bit premature about the wonky timeline of Saved by the Bell. I went into this episode when I was talking about last week's episode, but this episode is definitely something that was recorded earlier in the season and it aired late because everybody looks younger. Zack's hair is different. Everybody's hair is like super like moosed up. Lisa and Kelly have bangs that are just out of this world, and Lisa she kind of moved away from those bangs and she went more like Shirley Temple curls, like ringlets, like later in the season. So that's how I can tell. Aside from the fact that they look younger, specifically Zack looks younger. And Slater's mullet is not quite the mullet of later season Slater. Not as like soul glow juicy as as his mullet is later in the season. Like he doesn't have the right product in his hair to make it all shiny and beautiful. So this is like weirdly out of order. So I don't know. And I was going to do the whole thing where I look for how the episodes are really supposed to go, but it would just, I'm not really willing to put in that much work for Saved by the Bell. So it's more fun this way to watch it go back and forth. It's sort of like a blast from the past. Memories of how our favorite characters used to look and how they look so much better as the show goes on. Even Screech looks better as the show goes on. I'll be nice. I don't hate him that much in this episode, even though he's the nerd kind. He's the close encounter of the nerd kind. But This episode is it's boring. Um, that's the one sin of Saved by the Bell, and a bad Saved by the Bell episode is that it's boring. Yeah, so this episode was just boring. They're like making stupid student film. I don't even know why they're making it. Are they just making this film for fun? Because they're making it in school, I guess. I don't know whether it's during school hours, but they're making it in school. They're using school equipment. So, I don't know. I don't understand. I never understand Saved by the Bells. I never understand how the money works, how the classes work. When do they go to class? When do they not? I mean, Zack has 30 jobs at the school. He's like the co-principal. He runs the radio station. He runs the school store. He's also an athlete, and he's the prankster prince, if you remember that episode. So I have no idea how anybody gets anything done, but now they're making student films, and it's a stupid like alien film. Screech is and oh wait, Jessie is playing the teacher. She's playing the teacher in their movie. And she didn't have to work that hard to look like an old maid. They put her in like a grandma dress, and they just pulled her hair back and put some glasses on her, and there you go. Jessie is a full-grown woman. The grandma of the show. It's so bad. Poor Jessie. Like at every turn, they're looking to make that girl look like she's somebody's mother. It's too sad. Too sad for her. And it's okay. What makes it so sad is that she's actually like a 16, 17-year-old. They're like around the right age. So the fact that they keep making her, they like decided right off the bat that she was the one that looked the most, like that looked the oldest, I guess, or that looked the most like a grandma. Well, I'll be nice. Not a grandma, a mom. She could be the mom. Grandma is just mean. I don't want to be mean to her. So let's start at the beginning, because like I said, they're making that movie. Mr. Belding let a bunch of 15-year-olds or 16-year-olds, however old they are at this point. We went back in time, so I'll say 15. He's going to let a group of 15-year-olds borrow a brand new school camera that's worth like $1,200 or $1,500, something like that. And he just lets them use it at their own discretion. Jessie, of course, is in charge of the camera because she's the mom and she's the most responsible. But why would he let them hold this? And of course, as soon as Mr. Belding comes in and says, take good care of the camera, Zack gets upset because he's a white boy and people weren't following his white boy directions. And he gets mad. Slater's the cameraman, and he knocks the camera out of Slater's hand. And that starts, they have to replace the camera before Mr. Belding finds out. And they decide they're reading a magazine. They're reading like one of those like supermarket magazines, not even like the Globe or something like that, not the Inquirer, the ones that talk about alien encounters and shit like that. So do they still have those in the supermarket? I don't know. Like I go to Whole Foods and I go to Aldi. They don't have any magazines in Aldi, and in Whole Foods they have like the holistic shit, the like yoga magazines and stuff like that. So it's been a while since I've been to like a regular grocery store. So I don't know. Do they still sell those? I don't know. Whatever. They sold them back then, and they have one, and they read that there's some sort of contest where they can they make like, you get $1,500 if you take the best alien picture. And it's just, I guess they just want people to send fake pictures to them, and they'll choose the best one, because what they do is they send a picture of Screech in his alien costume, which looks terrible, but maybe it looks better on camera because they sure enough send that a picture of Screech in his, his green alien costume with things glued on his head, and he has green makeup, and there's missing spaces in his green makeup, so you can tell that it's just a white kid under green makeup. But that worked for the Globe, or whatever Saved by the Bell's version of the Globe is. And so what happens is, Max is back. Max returns. I said last week, I was saying a few weeks ago that he was like the Judy Winslow. He walked to the back of the Max and he never returned, but he's returned. Max has made his great return to the show, and a dude shows up. They think it's a dude from the Globe that liked their picture, because Zack wins the contest, and he thinks they're about to get they get money. They win that contest and they get the money, and Zack buys a new camera, and they replace the camera before Mr. Belding finds out. But this dude shows up, and this guy, I forget, his name is Thompson. I forget what his first name is, but they call him I think it's just Mr. Thompson or Lieutenant Thompson, something like that. Well, they think he's from another magazine, and that he sees their picture, and he thinks he tells them that he'll give them $10,000 if they introduce him to the alien. And I'm like, what? We have a real life adult man. Well, not real life, but you know what I'm saying. An adult man. And he just, like every other adult that just walks into this school, he walks into Mr. Belding's office, and he's talking to these kids. This must be like in a late 80s, early 90s kind of thing, where you could just walk into a kid's school and you can talk to the kids, and just nothing like this. I don't know why this didn't shock me when I was younger, because I never saw just regular adults walk into my school and talk to the students that wasn't a teacher. I've never seen that, or like a parent, somebody related to a student. And on this show, people just walk into the school. Okay, as an adult, it creeps me out and it kind of scares me. I don't have any kids, and I don't plan on having any kids, but I'm just saying, I'm scared for your kids. I'm scared for other people's kids. Like, you shouldn't just let, and it's mostly men that do this on this show. It's the men. It was the guy, the photographer guy from a few episodes ago, that walks in and wants to take pictures of these teenage girls, and they let him do it. It's this guy. It's just so many adult men that get to walk into this school unchecked. Bayside, get better security. That's kind of weird, right? The Bayside doesn't have a security guard. Maybe that's just how it is at rich high schools. You don't need security at rich high schools, right? I don't know. Whatever. That was like too long for me to think about the security of Bayside. It's so stupid, because I know he doesn't do anything. He just walks into the school and he talks to these kids, and it just freaks me out every single time. But one thing I have to say, the picture that Zack sold to the magazine that won him the $1,500, he bought a camera that replaced the school camera, Mr. Belding's school camera. The school camera was only $1,200. What did Zack do with the extra $300 that he got? Is the question that everybody should be asking, especially Kelly. we all know that Kelly has money problems. You know, what did Zack need that $300 for? And why wouldn't they all just decide to give it to Kelly? I mean, that would be kind of, I mean, you wouldn't want to be like the one poor kid that's hanging out with all these rich kids, and you're Kelly and you're like looking for handouts, you know. It's so bad. But why couldn't he give that money? They don't ever mention it. Like, nobody ever brings it up. And I guess since they're other like fellow rich kids, they wouldn't bring it up. But you think Kelly would bring it up, but maybe she wouldn't want to bring it up because, you know, she doesn't want to draw attention to the fact that she's like the poor kid, the destitute one that's like, you know, begging for the spare change that Zack has, because I'm sure the $300 to Zack is like spare change. But whatever. So stupid Mr. Thompson, you know, he's asking them questions about the alien, and he'll give them $10,000 to meet it, and they go way out of their way to let the audience know, you know, just in case you're one of the stupid kids in the audience that didn't recognize, this guy is an idiot. He trips over everything. He's just a moron, and he gets more moronic as this episode goes on. So Screech got a filling in his tooth, and this is back in the day when they still did metal fillings. Do they still do metal fillings? I don't know. I got fillings and I wanted the ones that look like my teeth, you know, that sort of blend in with your teeth. So I don't know if they still do metal fillings or if they if it's just the enamel like ones. I don't know what they're called. What are the ones that look like your teeth called? Let me stop. It doesn't matter. Screech got a filling, and this is only a TV thing. His filling is picking up radio signals. This is so stupid, and it wasn't even funny, and they keep doing it, and it's never funny. But he's picking up radio signals everywhere. Like, not when he's just near a radio. You would think that it would just be like near a radio, where he's like changing the signal on the radio, but no. He's walking around the hallway, he opens his mouth, and you hear, like, you know, you just hear something you hear a radio coming out of his mouth. And they keep going back to this stupid joke. So, you know, they have a thing where Zack and Slater move Screech around the hallway, and you know, like picking up different stations. And so when Mr. Thompson is in Belding's office, Screech walks in, and he happens to open his mouth, and the radio comes out, and the idiot Mr. Thompson is like, oh, he's like, oh my God, what is happening? I hear the radio coming out of your mouth. You must be the alien. So this dumbass, you know, Screech runs out of the office, and Thompson is telling Mr. Belding, you know, like, you have aliens in this school. When Mr. Belding comes back into the office, he had left before Screech came in. And when he comes back, he's telling, Thompson is telling Mr. Belding, you have aliens in this school. I've seen the pictures of them. You know, are you hiding them? And this is where we find out that Mr. Thompson doesn't work for a magazine. He's actually, he's like a government person. Oh, a government person. He's like with the Air Force, or he's with one of the armed forces. I forget what it is, but he wears a uniform. And, you know, if you're better than me, you recognize what kind of uniform he's wearing. And so Zack decides that, I forget how, I don't know whether Screech told him like he saw Mr. Thompson, but Zack's whole scheme is like, oh, you know, we can trick Mr. Thompson, of course, into believing Screech is actually an alien. You know, we can get this $10,000. Zack, once again, desperate for money, I will never understand why they always play Zack like he's desperate for money. I mean, $10,000 is a lot of money, but why for Zack does his thing always have to be this like desperation? You would think that he's like a poor like Kelly, but he's not. Zack has all the money. I mean, we see all the stuff that Zack has. I don't know why they always play him like, oh, I just gotta make this last dollar. I don't know how my family's gonna survive if I don't make this $10,000. If I don't win this and it's like, it's never easy stuff. It's like lottery type shit that he wants to do. It's like, why are you always trying to do this type of stuff where you could just be like chilling with your, with your cell phone and your computer, like whatever, dude. Anyway, so they go to the Max and they get Max to teach Screech how to pretend to be an alien. And, nobody cares about Max's, magic tricks. The thing that I want to talk about is, when did Max get kind of buff? Have I been missing it? Because, Max has been gone for a while. This is his first episode back. I don't know if this is the last episode we'll see him because everything didn't air in sequential order. This might be the last time we see him. Shedding a tear. So I was watching this and I was like, well, I mean, Max was never like a fatty, but I was like, Max, not a great looking guy. Sorry, Ed Alonzo. Like you, enjoy the magic, but you're not a supermodel. But the thing that I was thinking about was I was like really like checking Max out. I was like, damn, Max is looking kind of good. Like the bod is looking like really tight. So that's what I was thinking about while they were like planning their like alien thing. So they take Mr. Thompson to the school at night, and they have this really elaborate setup where they've set up the lockers so that they all open at the same time, and they have like smoke coming out into the hallway, and they're playing like loud noises. And okay, how they get into school at night? Like, don't they lock up schools at night? But whatever. But Zack is like the co-principal, so of course he has keys to the school. So why do we even question these things now? Zack, co-principal, has keys. He can get in and out of the school whenever he wants. So Mr. Thompson is there and he's buying into all this shit that's going on, and this seems way too elaborate, like a waste of money. Like, you want $10,000. Why are you spending so much money to convince this guy to give you the $10,000? It's like you're going to end up with you're like $5,000 in the hole just trying to trick him right now. Whatever. This is a Zack plan. So Zack plans never end with him making a ton of money. We should know this by now. I should know this by now. We've learned this over and over again. Zack doesn't end up with the money all the time. So Screech comes out and he's doing all the tricks that Max showed him. But in true Screech fashion, things go wrong, and his the antennas start falling off of him. The magic tricks stop working. And Mr. Thompson calls them out and he's like, you try to trick me. I'm not falling for your bullshit. So they are prepared for this. So I don't know why or how, they're prepared for when Screech fucks up and they have to there's like another layer to this trick to Mr. Thompson. So once they turn all the lights on, Screech is like, forget this. I'm not this alien kid. And they're like, Screech, like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm not Screech, I'm Zorp. And he pulls another mask off. He pulls like the Screech face mask off of his face, and there's like a weird alien face under it. this is so stupid. Like, even for Saved by the Bell, this is stupid. The mask that looks like a more traditional, like, regular TV, like, movie alien mask that he has on. There's just no way that the mask that mask would ever fit under, whatever other mask that he had on. It's so stupid. I don't know why they do it. But this works because Mr. Thompson is a moron, and he's like, oh my God, this alien, thank you. So Zach's like, okay, where's the $10,000? And he's like, no, you don't get $10,000. I'm taking, he snatches his, his facade off, and he's like, I'm not, Mr. Thompson, I'm Lieutenant Thompson, and I work for the government, and I'm taking this alien kid with me. And humans are so fucking awful. We are terrible. We suck. There's going to be a robot revolution and they're going to kill us all. But so that I was just reading something about the robot, like the robot woman. What's her name? Roxanne or something? Whatever. The sex robot woman. It's so creepy. We're terrible. We need to stop. Elon Musk is the devil. He is trying to kill us all. It's just terrible. But we are also terrible because Mr. Thompson wants to take Screech to back to Washington so they can dissect him. Not, we found this intelligent life form came to us, and we don't want to talk to it. We want to dissect it. We don't want information. We just want to dissect it and find out what the fuck this thing is made of. We suck. We are terrible. We never learn our lesson. I mean, we've all seen Jurassic Park, right? We need to stop. Humans need to be stopped. I'm going to be on the robot side. I'm so going to be a traitor. Robots or aliens, whichever one comes to get humans first. I am going to be on that side. I'm going to survive. I'm going to be, I'm going to turn on human beings so fast. It's going to be great. I'm going to be terrible. So they, Thompson walks off, I don't know why he doesn't take Screech at this point. He's like, they tricked him, and he's like, I'm taking you back to Washington. I mean, if he was smarter, he would have taken Screech right then. Like, what the fuck are you waiting for? Why are you coming back the next day? If this is an alien, that it's not a student at the school. So, if it's an alien life form, you've already said that, you work for the government. You can do whatever the fuck you want. That's basically what he told Mr. Belding earlier, that he worked for the federal government and he had the authority to do whatever he wanted at the school. So why doesn't he just take Screech? Whatever. So Screech has a sleepover with Zack, and I didn't know boys did this. I didn't, like girls do. They slept in the same bed. Now, I don't know what I was expecting. I do know what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be like Screech would sleep on the floor or something, because like they wouldn't want two heterosexual young men sleeping in the same bed together because they're afraid of the gay thing. But I applause for Saved by the Bell. I mean, I don't know. Not really applause. They're probably whatever. Not applause for them, but I wasn't expecting it. They're very Tony and Sid from Skins, with a less cool bedspread. If you've seen Skins, you know what I'm talking about. Go watch Skins. That's a pretty good show. So Screech is saying his prayers, and he's really scared like a dummy, and he when he's saying his prayers, he's asking for Zack to go to heaven with him. And I'm like, what? why would you want Zack to go to heaven with you? And, Zack's listening to this, and he's like, Screech, do you really want me to go to heaven? And Screech is like, yeah, Zack, you're my best friend. And if Zack actually experienced human emotions, and he was a good person, he would have felt bad. But he's Zack, he's a sociopath, and he doesn't feel bad. He sucks. But he's like, Screech, I'm going to get you out of this because I'm Zack and I run this shit. So, and Mr. Belding, that Zack runs shit because Mr. Belding at school the next day goes to Zack to see how they can save Screech. I was like, what? I'm always joking when I say that Zack is like the co-principal or when, I say Zack runs the school. But they want Zack actually runs the school because Mr. Belding sure does go to Zack to say, like, I don't know what to do, Zack. What the fuck are we going to do about saving Screech? Like, I'm an adult. I'm a principal. I have like a master's degree at least. In order to be the principal of the school, but I need your help, Zack, a 15-year-old, to get this boy out of being dissected by the federal government. Like, what the fuck? It's crazy. I love it, but it's crazy. So Zack's idea is to, I don't know, shame Mr. Thompson into not taking Screech. Like, shame him for lying to the kids about the $10,000, about working for the newspaper and the $10,000. And then they have the other kids in school wear Screech masks and, like, hide in the lockers, and then when they get in the hallway, sort of everybody come out of the lockers at the same time, and it's like, oh, can you figure out which one is actually Screech? You have to take all of them now, and this overloads Mr. Thompson. His teeny tiny pea brain is like on overload, and he runs out of school like scared. But where do they get Screech masks? Like, nobody asked this question. I mean, maybe it could be like one of the Three Stooges. I mean, because it kind of looks like a Three Stooges mask, kind of, but it's so weird. Like, his big plan was for all the kids to stand in only the skinny kids, to get into the lockers with Screech masks on and then get out so they could scare Mr. Thompson. Whatever. I hated this episode, but we got through it, right? This is a short episode because I really don't have anything to say about it because I didn't like it. I prefer like when they get older because they look better and everybody's hair is better. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's all 80s hair, but it's just better 80s hair as they get older. Like, Zack gets blonder, his hair gets more slicked back. Like, in this episode, he has like really poofy, like bangy hair. I told you I don't like Lisa's hair here. Kelly's hair is like it's like really dark, but she has like these giant bangs. I don't like it at all. Slater's mullet is not where his mullet needs to be. I just got all kinds of problems with this episode. I want to get back to like regular, to when they're older and they look better and whatever next week, because next week is running Zack. That's the episode. Episode 312 is running Zack. I got so much to say about that episode. Oh my god, y'all. Running Zack is such a fucking problem. It is, oh my god. I'm not even going to get into it right now because I'll just go into that episode right now, and it deserves its own episode. It's going to get its own episode. Let's get through this. So that's the end of the episode. Screech is not dissected. There are Screech masks all over the place. And Mr. Thompson will never be heard from again. And maybe neither will Max, but he's kind of buff here. So, maybe he's like working out. When he's not doing magic, he's working out. I'm going to miss Max. So end of the episode. Let's get into the rest of it. So this episode is coming out on Wednesday. On Friday, I will be releasing the next episode of the 8th episode of Black Lightning, the review for Black Lightning. What you should do is follow the podcast on Twitter at TheIntrovertedNerd. You can follow me personally on Twitter at TheIntrovertedNerd. That's THEMS introvert. You can follow the show on Instagram at TheIntrovertedNerd. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/TheIntrovertedNerd. And you can send me feedback for Saved by the Bell or Black Lightning. Send it to TheIntrovertedNerd@gmail.com and just leave Saved by the Bell or Black Lightning in the subject line. And, we can talk about all this stuff. Oh my God. Tell me what you have to say about running Zack, because that show. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, and leave me a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts, and I will read it. I will read it on the podcast, the next episode. The podcast is available on iHeartRadio now. So if you have that app, you should get it. If you don't have that app, you should get it, and you can listen to me there. You can listen to me on Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn. I'm all over the place. So just hook up with me everywhere, and, we'll have fun. So until Friday, folks that watch Black Lightning, and you should be watching Black Lightning, because that show went from I liked the show, it was fun, to some crazy shit happened in the last episode, and nothing is as I thought it was. So watch Black Lightning, catch up on that show, and listen to the next episode. So until next week, with running Zack. Oh my God. Later, everybody.